Welcome to Spark Sessions. I'm your host, Sonya Locke, and this girl is on fire. Today's guest is the extraordinary Chevy Arnold, a powerhouse strategist, a founder advocate, and a visionary leader who is redefining how women access opportunity. She currently serves as a managing director at EY in the private equity sector and has the honor of serving as a program director for the Entrepreneur of the Year Southeast program, where she celebrates and elevates the boldest entrepreneurs across the region. She has served as a champion for the EY Entrepreneurial Winning Women North America program for many years, helping to identify and provide ambitious entrepreneurs with resources, network, and access to unlock their full potential. Over the course of her career, Chevy has worn many hats: investment banker, founder, advisor, champion. But her through line has always been the same: igniting opportunities. Whether mentoring founders one-on-one, creating ecosystems that open doors, or shining the spotlight on trailblazers transforming industries, Chevy has built a reputation as a connector and an advocate, and what many would call their fairy godsister in business. Chevy, first of all, welcome, and it is such an honor to have you here. I mean, you have been truly my inspiration. Being involved in the Entrepreneur of the Year program and at the Strategic Growth Forum really is what ignited this whole platform of really wanting to give back to other women, give the mentorship and some ideas, and all that you do. I know it's so much and you give so much to others. And I just want to say thank you for being a champion, and thank you for all of your mentorship to so many other women. You truly do lift them up and you're wonderful. So thank you.
Well, and thank you for having me. I mean, this is such an honor to be here with you, and I've so much enjoyed getting to know you through EY's entrepreneurial programs and beyond that too.
So. Yes. Well, thank you. And like I said, it's my honor completely. Like I said, Chevy, I mean, I am just in awe of how you touch so many different things, but I like to start with kind of like your roots to rise, like what got you to where you are today, and what about your background and where you came from that made you so ambitious and so giving to so many different areas.
Well, I grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, and at the time, it wasn't the happening place that it is today. Like, I don't know if you've visited St. Pete lately,
oh, yes.
But it's now like this incredibly wonderful, they've got lots of art and lots of cafes outside and lots of activities. So it was not that when I lived there originally. Kind of called it the land of the living dead sometimes. but I grew up there. It was an amazing childhood. I mean, I know some people have a lot of challenges throughout their life, and I really grew up in a wonderful place with wonderful parents and friends. And my dad was a stockbroker, and he, had a long, successful career, and he's very driven, very analytical, treats his clients well. And my mom, she actually was an editor of a sailing magazine that we had. And she was always editing books and very involved with our school as well. She's president of the PTA and always supportive of everything that my brother and I did. I have a younger brother. He's 7 years younger, and he actually is here in Atlanta as well and very successful. And so we went to a very small school and I graduated, I think, with maybe 68 kids.
Oh, wow.
So very small, big private preparatory school, which actually was a huge influence, I think, in a lot of my drive, because a lot of the families there, they were either, successful in what they were doing, like the parents, or they were, some of them were entrepreneurs, some of them lawyers, doctors, whatever. So I was surrounded by kind of that bigger influence of success. And so interestingly enough, I continued more so to follow my friends when it came to college. Like, you would think college preparatory school, you're going to the Ivies, and I, because we went to such a small school, I wanted a big school experience. And so I went to the University of Florida. My roomed with my best friend for 4 years, joined a sorority, did all the big college things, and then came out of it thinking, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to be an investment banker.
I do not know how many of our guests that everybody goes to New York. I mean, I think that that's where it's like, it is a spark because it's like, I can make it there.
Right.
Yeah.
Until reality hits. Right. And I went to New York. I had prepared my resume, made a lot of connections. Literally, back then you weren't sending resumes on the internet. You were walking door to door. And that's what I did. I would walk door to door with my resume, which, it had achievements on it and things like that. But, my biggest work experience at the time, I had done some internships through some, my dad's company and things like that. But for the most part, the biggest thing on there was like my summers were spent working on the beach with Captain Mike's cruises. So it was really something that was a reality check when I got to New York. I'm like, look, I did really well in my finance classes. I understand this and everything. And I said, I'm really great at customer service and I could sell all these, great things to the customers on the beach. And it didn't quite resonate. And when I was up there, I knew that wasn't where I needed to be.
Yeah.
Right. And so I wanted to be in a bigger city. And so Atlanta seemed like a natural fit. I had a good friend who's still one of my best friends today. And she was in law school at Emory. I came to visit and, kind of the rest is history. I loved Atlanta and I had already started interviewing for jobs in Atlanta as well. But
yeah. And that also had to be hard because I imagine when you went into investment banking, there was not a lot of females in investment banking. You're coming from the South, going up to New York and just with all of your,
yes.
Okay, I'm going to do it. But
yes, I definitely had the drive, determination, and, just perseverance to make it happen. However, I ultimately didn't become an investment banker until after I went to business school.
Oh, really?
And I went to Emory for business school, but I was in consulting for 4 years, almost 5 years. And it was interesting. I started my career thinking, well, this will be a great foundation, which it actually really was.
Yes.
And so I worked for some of the bigger consulting firms, and that really gave me just a huge launching pad, I think, for where I wanted to be. Although as I continued down that consulting path, it got more focused in IT and just areas where I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, this is not where I started. This is not related to finance, even though it might have been like related to finance or like a financial reengineering project. It was just not what I ultimately wanted to do. And I started interviewing again for investment banking jobs. And they said, look, based on where you are today, at the level at which you are in this, consulting firm, you would have to go back down the totem pole to start as an analyst. And I said, well, that doesn't sound like fun. So I actually had already taken, the GMAT to get back into business school, and it was about to expire. So I scrambled to get it, my application in. And Emory had a 1-year program, which was great. And so I was able to get my MBA in 1 year. They combined 2 years into one. And,
oh, wow. That had to be hard, though.
Well, they said like, oh, you'll remember everything from business school and, from, undergrad, and you'll kind of condense the first year of business school into the summer. I was like, all right, sounds good. Sounds like a great refresher. And I, sat like day one in my statistics class going, I don't remember one thing that you are talking about, and this is going to be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, very much so.
But it was a great experience. And Emory has continued to give back to me since, being, just all the different opportunities, all the different, connections that I've made through the business school there, has been a huge, kind of spark that's been in my life and has been really helpful to help me kind of get to that next level.
But that consulting lens also had to be great for investment banking. Because investment banking, you think about the transactions and all the stuff they work on, but it is really working with entrepreneurs and discovering the values of their business and what the right partnerships are. It's a lot more complicated than that. So I think that probably gave you a good.
It did.
Good background.
It was. I learned a lot. Obviously I was much younger. I was, not getting that always that direct client experience, but I got a lot of it. And so just having the opportunity to listen, I think that's so important. And I think like today's And it's with the way the world has changed and the way we work, and a lot of people working from home, and maybe a hybrid, or some people being back in the office. I would say to all of the younger folks that are out there, if you have the opportunity to be in the office and learning from other peers above you, leaders above you, like there's so much that's absorbed in the office environment that I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have those opportunities when I was younger.
And I think just the network and the community, that's what I think a lot of them don't understand, is how powerful having a network and that community that you get from in person and working with different clients.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we all love like the flexibility of being working from home and all of that. And I think there's probably a good balance, right? I mean, maybe it's 3 days in the office. I mean, whatever it may be, but being able to work on a team is really rewarding. And when you're collaborating with each other, I mean, that's something that I really enjoyed doing.
Yeah. So tell me about, because you're also an entrepreneur as well. You founded your own business at a certain point. What brought you into breaking out on your own?
Well, I had been an investment banker with some of the largest investment banks right out, coming out of business school. And then I worked for some more of the boutique firms here in Atlanta. And I started having my family, right? My husband and I had our first child in 2005. And so that's completely changes your life, right? And for those of you who aren't familiar with investment banking, right, it's all transaction driven. So I was doing mostly sell side M&A work and raising capital for companies. And so the deal is really what drives, your time.
Yeah.
And when I had my first son, I just quickly realized that investment banking with young kids, and my husband was traveling a lot, was not conducive to motherhood.
No, I was about to say investment banking, everybody I know in investment banking, I mean, like 80-hour work weeks are common. And especially when you're starting out with it and everything, I mean, you really are, it's very, very intense.
It was. And I just wanted more control over my time, right? And we had moved pretty far north of the city at that point, and it was just the daily commute. And I was not someone who really wanted to have we didn't have the space either to have like a nanny come in every day. And so luckily, I did have a neighbor across the street who had this amazing childcare program where she just had a select few kids in her home. And I was able to launch my own consulting business where I was working with really a lot of the people that I had met through investment banking, but they were just not ready to kind of be a client of a larger middle market investment bank. And so these were entrepreneurs, earlier stage businesses, companies that recognized they needed an outside advisor, but weren't quite ready to have a big firm involved. And so I did a lot of that front end work that I did in investment banking, whether it was writing a confidential information memorandum, doing the financial model, preparing their projections, thinking about how they're going to go out to investors, talking to them about that strategy and approach that they were going to take. And so I was able to create a consulting business where I could do everything on a project basis. So I had much more control over my time.
With working with that, I mean, is that where it kind of started your first spark of working with entrepreneurs and helping not just advise them, but kind of mentor them into the next level?
It really did. I had the opportunity to work with some great founders who really just they were smart, they were sophisticated, they just didn't know the path to go down to get out to market with a potential capital raise, and they didn't know kind of who to go to. And I was able to help fill that void because it was kind of a gap between kind of a business broker and a true investment banker who's going to help them at a much broader scale. I was able to get them the tools that they needed on the front end. And then a lot of times they would go out and, be able to meet with the potential investors, or go out and meet with, if it was a company that was a little bit further along and they were looking to sell, they could then take the materials, go out and market their business, and I would help provide some of those connections. But I said, really, you just need to get a good corporate lawyer involved, and I'll help, continue to kind of consult on the side. But I didn't take it all the way through the end of the transaction. Like I let them do that, because that was where I was like, okay, this is a project. I'm going to make it kind of beginning and end, versus truly going through. But I worked with so many great founders in that time frame, and I was networking across this kind of entrepreneurial ecosystem in the Southeast, getting to know the accelerators, the incubators, those people who are really the power players who are making things happen across these earlier stage companies that are helping them scale and grow. And I knew that they needed this help, once they got to that certain level, like once they got kind of beyond that kind of friends and family round, a lot of them needed some help in that next stage.
Well, entrepreneurs do need a lot of help on those stages, because it's very complex to navigate, and it's good to have somebody that's like more of an advocate that's with you, that's like really kind of helping balance that. But how did you balance with being a mother, being a owner of your own boutique firm? How did you balance that? And then, because you have how many kids? You have
three boys.
3 boys. That's a lot.
Never a dull moment. Well, I had my consulting firm for about 3 years, and and then kind of continued it on later. But for about 3 years, as I was growing my client base, I was also continuing to have kids. So when I first started it, I had 1, and then by 2009, I had 3, and so I had a 4-year-old, a 17-month-old, and a newborn.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And my husband was traveling every week for his business. He had started a company as well, so we have kind of 2 entrepreneurs in the house. And so we just needed some stability. And I'll be honest with you, in order to find that balance, I took 5 years off. Yeah. And I stayed home with my kids, and it was the best, choice I could have ever made, because I love that, I love the baby stage. I love them now, but it was just a time where I wanted to just soak up those moments. I will say, being the analytical person that I am, I did have a spreadsheet, keeping the naps and taking, to preschool and whatever. It was a juggling act, because they were all on different schedules. And, all the books always said, a kid loves a schedule. A kid loves, well, I can do a schedule. I can do that.
You just put on your
yes,
your hat for your kids.
Yes,
huh?
Until you realize that the kids really, you try so hard to keep a schedule, and there's so much out of your control that you just have to be like, all right, you know what, today we're not on the schedule.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I think that's important parts of and I've talked actually when I did the generational talk, our HR director, she did the same thing, and I say our generation, there was like a mommy track, and there was a time period where we're like, no, we are going to take off those formative years and be with our kids. And it helped us professionally as well as personally, right? Because it does 100%. Teach you a lot of things. And then what brought you back to where you're at now, but still helping entrepreneurs in so many ways, but you're back at EY at such an important level in every which direction. And it's your 3rd time back at EY, right?
Yes, I'm what they call a double boomerang. Ironically, I've never been an accountant. I was actually in their consulting practice early on, and in their corporate finance practice after business school. And now I have a really incredible role where I do get to wear many hats. When I came back from staying home with the kids, I actually went back into full-time investment banking, which, everything I loved about investment banking was there. Everything I didn't love about investment banking was there.
Yeah.
And it's really because I'm a relationship builder, and in the transaction world, it's obviously transactional, right? You work the deal, you go to sell a business, you're looking at raising capital, and you do stay in contact with, those clients. But basically when the deal's done, you're ready to move on, you're doing the next one, or you're doing multiple deals at a time. And so it's very transactional. And I love building those longer term relationships. And ironically, some of the people that I met and served back then are either good friends today or even clients. So when I came back to EY, I was able to really leverage my relationships that I had built with private equity firms, with just people in the transaction intermediary space, but also leverage the relationships that I had across this entrepreneurial ecosystem from my consulting business. And then, just early on, the foundation that I had built with, before even business school, I was able to kind of take all of those skills and apply them to the roles that I have today, which, I was grateful for the opportunity to have, a unique role at EY when I came back. Really sitting across service lines, helping drive, opportunities with privately held businesses, family-owned companies, entrepreneurs, and really opening that kind of white space that we, I think when people think about EY, they think, big four public accounting firm, but they don't realize how much we do elevate entrepreneurs across our entrepreneurial programs, and that was just something that drew me into it, because I wanted to be able to add value not only to our larger clients but also across the the private ones as well.
No, I think that's what amazed me so much about EY. I always tell everybody, it's like after I went to the Strategic Growth Forum, I'm like, okay, you have a fan for life, because it's like it is the network, it's the community, it's the advisors. You guys have a consulting practice, and you really do champion entrepreneurs across all your different platforms and give them strategic advice, not just on accounting, right? It's got so much more. And I think most people also don't realize, when you're running the Entrepreneurial Winning Women or the Southeast of the Entrepreneur of the Year program, that's in addition to your full-time job
Yes.
As a managing director, which is really wonderful. But so I guess one of my things I always ask everybody, and I think you're the epitome of this, listening to your journey, is when did you find your passion met your purpose? Because I do think you are like the Godsister to so many entrepreneurs, where you have all this vision of all these other layers.
Well, when I see value being created out of the connections that I'm making, because that's, one of, I think, my biggest skills, and I don't think of it as like a skill, but I do think it's, I don't know, maybe it's a gift. I'm blessed to be able to do this, but I think about connections in a way where it's going to create value, whether it's for my clients, whether it's for my friends, whether it's for family. And I think about and I listen to what people's needs are. I listen to what might be helpful to them. I listen to what struggles they may be going through. And so by hearing all that, I try to do my best to think, all right, how can I be helpful? Right?
Yeah.
How can I create an opportunity for them to succeed? How can I help them solve a problem? How can I find a solution to that problem? Right? And so that's how I think about it. And when you think about my role at EY being across service lines, right? I'm not an expert in tax. I'm not an expert in audit. I'm not an expert in, IT, AI consult. I know a lot, and I know who to go to, but it's helping the clients and the people and even my teammates, right? My people that I work with every day, if they need to find a solution, or if they need to find that right person, because it's a big firm to navigate, right?
Yes.
It's not, people don't know always where to go. And so I try to be that connector or that conduit to finding that. So when I think about the spark in my purpose, like, I've been given a platform of all these incredible resources, kind of at my fingertips. I just have to find them. Right?
Yeah. But I think that's such an important role, like bridging all of those together to make it great. So that is definitely your superpower, I believe.
Well, it fills my cup every day. It's really something that I pride myself on, and like how I build these trusted relationships, because I want to make sure they're authentic connections as well. Right? It's not like I'm just going to connect somebody because, I think you might enjoy meeting them. Yeah, sometimes that does happen, but for the most part, it's done with intentionality, and it may not happen immediately. Like when I was talking about building long-term relationships, I feel like there may be somebody that I had met years ago, and I heard, they did this or they did that, and I think it's always a little surprising to people be like, how did you remember that? Or how did you know? Or how did and I'll connect people that may have come from totally different walks of my life, but I think about how could that be valuable to them in meeting each other.
So, I mean, I think that you have a lot of great superpowers, but I know that anyone's journey like yours is not easy. And so I like to talk about it. And I think especially coming from you, because as an advisor and somebody that really does champion entrepreneurs, talk about some of the challenges and fires that you've had to go through and what got you to the other side, I think, because I think that's always so important for us to kind of hear how people have navigated. You're a mother, you're, working in a very high pressure industry, right? So what are some of the fires that you had to walk through and overcome?
Well, I think going back to, coming from a stay-at-home mom and going back into the corporate world, which it was obviously like, I asked myself, what am I doing? Right.
Yeah.
And you talk about, I know you've talked about this in other podcasts. You always ask about like an imposter syndrome, right?
Yes.
And I will say, I don't know that I had necessarily imposter syndrome, but it was gaining that confidence again, right? Like, I know I can do this. I mean, I had done it for years before, right? Many years before.
Right.
And, stepping out of it for so many years, it's like, am I going to be able to pick this back up? Am I going to be able to, get right back into it? And the answer was yes, but it took the confidence to do that. And so that was a huge challenge to overcome, I think, because the work was similar. And ironically, this is I find funny, but I was out of the workforce from like 2009 to about 2014, 15 timeframe.
That was a good time to
right?
be out.
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it, right? Like, so that was the downturn of the economy. We went through, this recession, and there's like, there weren't any deals really happening. I mean, and so they started picking back up again, like late 13, 14, 15. And so it was, I mean, you couldn't have planned it, right?
No.
But it was, fortuitous timing in that there weren't a lot of deals going on.
Right.
And it's really also, I found really interesting is that I did, a lot of networking. I was involved in a lot of different organizations before I stepped out. And I will say, by being involved and by having those connections, and then going back to the organizations that I was in before, like for different networking opportunities, whether it was the Association for Corporate Growth, or I was part of a women's finance exchange, group. I was part of the Executive Women of Godsister. I mean, like a lot of different things that I was involved in. When I came back in and I saw the same people, and they're like, "Oh, it's so good to see you. Didn't I just see you at this? Did I see you like at this? Whatever it was, networking dinner or panel discussion." It's like, no, that was probably about 5 years ago. What? No way. It's like, people don't have a concept of time.
No.
Like, I mean, it's truly like when that happened, and maybe maybe it'll happen similar like with COVID, right? People had like lose track of those times. But I feel like if you're ingrained enough in and you've built, a reputation, that when you do come back in, it was a challenge. It was definitely a huge challenge to kind of gain that confidence and start back in the corporate world. But I want to, like, my message to women out there who have like left the corporate world, or who have become, decided to stay home and they want to get back in. It's just, have the confidence to do it, because you have so many skills and so many things that you can offer to people that you don't recognize it until you start seeing, the positive momentum.
Right. And I do. I'm always searching for the answer to the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Because it comes up with every woman that you talk to. I think they feel like they have to prove themselves. And you're right, especially somebody that steps away and then comes back. It's like, okay, how do I prove myself and stuff? But
well, and even when I came back to EY, right? It's a big firm. I had worked for myself. I had worked for like smaller boutique investment banks, that it wasn't a big firm. And so if you would have told me I was coming back to a big firm, I was like, what, really? I mean, but it was, coming back to firm, I loved the idea of coming back and working with, broader teams and having all the resources and having, just that bigger engine behind you. But it was a challenge, right? And coming back, and I would literally within probably a couple weeks of being back at the firm, because I had this entrepreneurial ecosystem and network from my consulting days. I found out that I was going to be involved in the Entrepreneur of the Year program. And then I found out I was going to be leading it in the Southeast. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I was so honored and like just really thrilled with that privilege. But I was also like, what am I doing? Like, I have no idea, like how, and we have obviously an incredible team, incredible engine behind it. And so, it was a good transition. But then, when you become like the MC of the award celebration,
I know, like, how you do that.
This is not my wheelhouse. like I am not someone who would normally be up on stage like that. And so I was like channeling back to my youth. I'm like, okay, I remember this talent show I did and like sang a song on stage. I'm like, it definitely was way out of my comfort zone. Way out of my comfort zone.
But sometimes you do have to. I think one person also said is you have to walk in fear sometimes. Yeah. And I think that is also another great advice, owning yourself, right? And what knowledge you have. And you are great when you're up there on those huge stages. You always look beautiful and you're always so well spoken. I don't know how you can remember all the stuff you say. But
a lot of practice. Let me tell you, my kids could recite the scripts for those award celebrations. They're like, Mom, really? Are you doing it again? Like, we don't want to hear it again.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, I can't even barely memorize like opening and stuff. It's like, oh my God, I have to say it like 50 times, but I can't imagine how you do that. But I mean, what a champion that you are. And, you did understand that you did have that place and you did have that knowledge. And you know what? Probably not being in that environment during that time period, you probably prevented burnout, which is the other thing that a lot of people would have is going through that time period with no deals. What more would you have learned? You kind of came there with more fresh eyes and fresh perspective, probably. Yeah. What are some other things you've worked with so many entrepreneurs, women and men, obviously. Mm-hmm. What are some other challenges that you've learned to give advice to people to, I guess, to overcome some of those fires they're going to go through, whether it be, funding or breaking and transforming something that may fail before, like failure, as we always talk, is our biggest proponent of success. How would you talk to another entrepreneur on what they should do?
I mean, I've learned so much from them. I'll be honest with you, right? It's like what they've done to persevere through their challenges and what it's taken to get to that next level is just so much grit and determination. So when I meet with an entrepreneur, maybe especially like those that are in their very early stages and they feel so alone and they feel so like they're doing everything. And even the ones that are a little bit further along, right? Like they've had that success or they've gotten to that next level. And then all of a sudden they find themselves standing, not necessarily at the top, but kind of in this like open field of like, where do I go now? Right. Mm-hmm. And they need some of that direction, or they need maybe access to whether it's capital or a broader network or, just resources to kind of help them fill some of the gaps. That is where I was like, look, this is where we can come in and help you do that, right? Whether it's through connections that I may have, like connections across, the entrepreneurial ecosystem that I've been a part of, across EY's entrepreneurial programs. I mean, there's all these different access points, and it's but they need to seek it out, right? And I think sometimes entrepreneurs will feel, I'm so busy, I'm doing everything in the world in this business right now. That's what I have to focus on. I don't have time to take a step out, kind of like from that outside in perspective, or take a step and say, oh, you know what, you're right. I probably need to go, get another group of peers that might be going through the same thing. It's hard for them to think that way because they're so focused on getting to, that success or profitability or raising that amount of capital, which is so important. But sometimes pulling in an outside in perspective is something that they, I've seen it happen time and time again, where just getting a different perspective on something really helps think, oh, wow, you know what? Or connecting with other entrepreneurs that are going through something similar or that they can learn from.
And we all go through something similar, and you're right. And it's like stepping away from and just being on the outside looking looking in, you can solve so many more problems and get through some of these challenges.
And I think a lot of them think, I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have time. And I will say, and I mean, I think I do this too in my personal career. Like, I'm so busy, I don't have time. But like, you need to invest in yourself, and you need to invest in seeking things that might be able to help you spring forward faster. Than trying to do it all on your own.
Yes. And that power of pause. That's another thing too, is you can't just keep on running until you burn out. You have to have sometimes that recharge.
Yeah.
Right.
And filling those gaps that you don't know. Like, I mean, every entrepreneur has those weaknesses, right? And trying to figure out, like, who can I rely on, or who can I lean on, or who can I hire to fill that gap?
Yes, I
because
agree.
You can't do everything.
No, you can't. And that's where I think the network
personally,
is so
professionally,
important.
Entrepreneurs, I think, they're so driven, they're so creative, they're so, just inspirational. But you just have to recognize that it's hard to do it by yourself.
Everything that you said, I mean, it's so powerful, and you cannot do it all on your own. And I think that's where I think mentorship and advisors and bringing other people in is very important. But I want to talk more on a bigger societal thing, and also because we do focus on women and everything. Women are really responsible for founding almost 50% of new businesses, like 39%. They still are only receive 2% of venture capital money out there. Yeah. And women make up more than 50% of the workforce, yet we're less than 6% in the Fortune 500 as far as CEOs. So, and these new generations, they know they can go and do anything, but these numbers are just not changing. So I guess one of the more societal questions is how do we turn the conversation from just equality to like really empowerment? And how do we, change it from just representation to truly having access and a voice at the table to where we are moving those numbers up? I mean, what's some of your thoughts on why they're not changing enough?
Yeah, it's a hard question, right?
Yes.
Because you think everything that we're doing in this world, like, should continue to help elevate, really all entrepreneurs as they're thinking, or, leaders, and how you can help, just help them down their path, right, on their journeys. And so when you think about women, obviously some are choosing to continue to rise in the corporate ladder. Others are taking a circuitous path like mine, right, where it's like you come in, you come out, you come in, you come out. But I think that when you take a look at the big picture, right, we need to make sure that women are supporting women.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes that may not always be the case. And I would say a lot of my champions throughout my career, and I have been men, right? And so you've got men also supporting women. So just continuing to raise the tide for women to help get them those opportunities, help them get access to the opportunities, help them really get the confidence that they need, because that's so much a part of it is that confidence. I mean, I've got friends that have been, out of the workforce for a while because they decided to stay home with their kids, and they're like, I don't even know where to begin, right? And so it's giving them that confidence and giving them ideas and bringing, whether it's new skills or opportunities, and making them aware of what that might be, right?
Right.
That's where I think we need to do a better job of helping support each other and continuing to rise the tide for everyone.
I think so. I mean, I think that's one of the things we talk about a lot too, is sometimes the competition, it almost feels like a competition, like especially in a corporate world where it's like, okay, there's only one seat at the table. No, we need to have, a bigger table so there's seats for everybody. And that is about championing other women, empowering them, and that's one reason kind of like we started this with this whole congratulations, is it can just be congratulations, not anything else, right? So how do we, do you think mentorship is like the best route, or what are some other, I guess, ways that we can help empower our future leaders and our other women leaders to give them that confidence to step up and succeed?
well, just know that they're not alone, right? If they seek out opportunities to be among, whether it's other founders, or other women who are looking to get back into the corporate world. Like, there's a lot of different organizations out there that bring people together, not just women, but men too. But
right.
it's like, but getting out there and getting involved. And there's people talk about networking and things like that. I think it has to be intentional. I think you have to find the right people in that group who can really help make those connections for you, and that are willing to do so, right? I'm always about paying it forward. So I'm always, trying to think, how to make those valuable connections. But women have to have the confidence to get back in, right? Or help others to get to that next level. And so that's where I've been just a huge champion I feel like I need to do that for others and bring them, help bring them up and bring them along, or give them opportunities. And that's just, that's what helps fuel my passion. You were talking about passion and purpose earlier. I mean, that's really something that drives me, when I can see the value that's being created that they didn't even know existed.
Right. And the EY Entrepreneurial Network, which there's 3 arms of it, right? So there's the Entrepreneur of the Year, the Entrepreneurial Winning Women, and the
Entrepreneurs Access Network.
Entrepreneurs Access, and they're all wonderful about making these connections, these networks, and it is about empowering each other and giving each other advice and resources to help propel them. So I think that's powerful part of your journey.
In that, the ecosystem at EY, right, among the entrepreneurs, they give so much to each other, right? And that's really special to see, because they support each other. They give each other ideas. They, share, success stories. They share, trials and tribulations. They talk about challenges. They talk about, all the different things that it takes to grow a business and succeed, and things where they may have had failures, right? How they've learned from those mistakes. I mean, but being able to create a platform for, really almost every stage of growth, right? We kind of touched the earlier stage. We touched kind of the scaling and growing companies, and with Entrepreneur of the Year, it's the ones that have really kind of gotten to that peak of success. And I mean, I will say there's a variety of companies that come through, right? So that's all stages of growth, all stages of just success as well, right? And so that, to me, creates an opportunity for them to learn from each other. And then we, help by providing resources, access to just the knowledge that they may need to, on various parts of their business, right? If they have different questions.
And what about the ones that want to break that 6% of the CEOs of the big companies, right? Like, not just founders, like what can we do in, I guess, corporate America to help support, others trying to break that glass ceiling?
I think it's important really to have advocates. Like, if you're with a company, right, for a number of years and you're working your way up to that, C-suite level, it's important to have advocates along the way, whether it's internally or externally. And that might be another word for champion, but true people that will share your success with others, like, celebrate you and continue to help pull you up and give you those opportunities. But I will tell you, you have to do it on your own too, right? You have to show your ability to perform and, be that diligent, driver that's going to create, a new vision for a company, or really think differently about, their, strategy, or think about how can we add, money to the top line? How can we, improve the EBITDA margin? How can we, you got to think holistically, right, of how you can continue to scale a company and bring in, the right resources to help, and also just, building a team and building a culture that is going to be successful.
Well, and I think building a team, that is so much. And like I said, you can't do it all, but if you surround yourself with those that are great at their areas, and then you become superhuman, right?
It's not, I mean, even for like the CEOs that, I mean, there's a lot of men that are CEOs, there's a lot, I mean, but to get to that point, it's not, I mean, it takes grit, it takes determination, it takes, and having a lot of experiences along the way, right? I mean, to me, getting to the point where I am at EY, it's taken a lot of different experiences to be able to add, collectively to what I can offer today, to whether it's my clients or the entrepreneurs that I get to know. And, it's definitely a collective knowledge base that's taken years and years to get to.
Well, you definitely challenged yourself throughout your life, and that's what got you to where you are. And you're definitely a champion for others, which is, we want to thank you for that as well. And I think that will help build that table. So you pour so much into others, and like I said, I really thank you for that. But what fuels your flame? How do you keep going? Like I said, you have multiple hats you wear always, and you're so involved with so many other people. How do you, I guess, keep your flame burning and not burn out?
I was going to say some days it gets pretty dim, but I think it's tough, right? I mean, because I get so much gratification by whether it's helping others or providing opportunity or creating value, right, for clients. So that is where I get my drive and my spark. But I know it's important. Like, I can't give to everyone, and I can't be that person to all people unless I have the strength within, right? Which is tough. So like daily rituals, I mean, there's days where I always have to be out. I love getting outside. I have to be outside. I mean, there will be days when I am on, call after call after call. And I literally, and my husband's actually been like stopped me once or twice and looked at me, and I'll be standing out in the middle of the yard in the sun just to have like some vitamin D, and I'll be out there like take just 5 minutes taking the dog out, right?
Yeah.
But just getting outside. I try to do some sort of exercise. It doesn't happen daily. I love to go for walks. I've now got a weighted vest that I use, which, I got my arm with weights, and I'm like doing my things out, and people are like looking at me like I'm crazy walking down the road. But, and I do try to make time for yoga. And it's interesting. The other morning, a quick like anecdote, right? There's just a lot going on, whether it would work personally, just a lot like, and I woke up and I was feeling really anxious, and I was like, I just need to get on my computer so I can bang this stuff out. But I had also thought the night before, I was like, I need to get up and really make the time to work out this morning. And then I got up though, and my mind starts racing, and I start talking, and I was like, you know what? I just need to pause, because I'm just going to do 15 minutes of yoga and move on from there. And I had to talk myself into it, because I was so like focused on getting everything done for work. Yeah. And, but I tell you what, after those 15 minutes, I felt much better. Yeah. And it was only 15 minutes, but it's amazing if you just take that time to pause, how important, or just how mentally it affects you. And, I mean, you can't be a CEO of a company like you are without having that daily drive of just control. Like, I've got to get all this done. I'm going to do it. Whether it's, something personally, professionally, whatever it may be, there's a lot that goes through our heads, right?
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Oh, yeah. It never shuts up.
Right. It never shuts up. And my husband's always like, when I wake up, he's like, how can you wake up with that many thoughts in your brain? He's like, that is just, and which is why we're married, because he balances me out completely. Right. But how can you wake up and do that? And I will say, my kids they definitely keep me grounded. They keep me, just in the realm of reality. And yes. I will say every morning before my kids go off to school, I'm like, I need my love bug hug. Aww. And so I make sure I give them a hug. I get upset if they like running out the door and they're late. I'm like, wait, I get my hug. So that's important to me.
But I do think both of those things, like the power of pause, I'm actually going to write an article on that, is like how it makes you so much more productive. You have to have that part of you, right? Your family, your time outside, your even just 15 minutes meditation or something to be more.
And what I find interesting is that back when I was earlier in my career, right, and an investment banker, it was all so driven, right? And it was like you wanted to be there the long hours. And I remember, putting, presentations together at 4 a.m, at the copy center. It's like, what am I doing here, right? But that was like how you were kind of rewarded. It's like that badge of honor of like working hard. And now I feel like a lot of companies really put a priority on, including EY, right, of that balance, or that, the balance is, I think, overused, but like that wellness, right? Taking that pause, making sure you disconnect, making sure that you're finding that, just whether it's a small or a big outlet during the day, of finding that space where you can just clear your head, because you are going to be a better, teammate. You're going to be a better mom. You're going to be a better, just friend, or somebody that when you're working with your clients, you're going to serve them better when you have that clarity.
So, I mean, you've done so much I think the next most important segment of Spark Sessions is about passing the torch. And I think that's what kind of your purpose is in general. But let's talk about your legacy and what the role of mentorship has meant in towards of paying it forward to the next generation. Can you tell me about, I guess, what advice you've had or what mentors you've had, or mentees, I guess, as well?
Yeah. I mean, I would not be where I am today without the army of mentors that I've had throughout my lifetime, right? And I will say there's not one specific person, because I think they come from different walks of life, right? Whether it's when you're learning how to be a mom, or when you're starting a new job, or getting to that next level, or getting promoted. I will say a lot of the mentors throughout my life have been men, to be honest. Yeah. Like the senior leadership that I've worked with. I mean, granted, I was in a very male dominated field, right? And mergers and acquisitions, there wasn't a lot of other women. But I've definitely had a lot of great women mentors as well, especially at EY. We have a lot of women leaders at our firm, which has been just, it's refreshing, and it's great. But I've learned a lot from a lot of different people. And just from a mentee perspective, there's a woman who actually worked underneath me when I was, second time I was at EY in our corporate finance practice. And she's just brilliant. But, she had a lot of questions. She didn't know navigating her career, and, she was starting to have a family, and she was seeing how I was going to start navigating that. And ultimately, I brought her over to another firm I was at, and then she was actually an entrepreneur. She started a business, more in the creative space, got out of the financial world. And now she's like the chief marketing officer of a very successful business and large company. And we've been friends for a long, long time. And I feel like we've constantly kind of stayed in contact. And when she was thinking about making moves or different, jumps to different roles, she would, call me as a sounding board and ask, what do you think? And I never necessarily had the right answers, but it was just being able to have, some additional guidance or just perspective. I think mentors give you a lot of different perspective. And by doing that, I think I look to her now almost as a mentor, right? Like we have a much more, even kind of relationship where I ask her questions and like, what do you think about this? And so, and we've obviously developed a great friendship over the years as well. And so when you can have a mentor that's truly a good friend and someone who you can share perspective with, I think that's really, really valuable. And I think when you think about champions for people, right? That's, to me, I think a cheerleader. A mentor is someone who I really feel is someone who's going to be throughout your life, or it might be different times of your life, but they're going to be critical in those times, right? And a champion to me is someone who just is that cheerleader, that advocate, who celebrates those successes, who will help create the momentum behind you and give you that kind of platform to launch.
Yes. And you've been both, but how would you define mentorship? I mean, I think that a lot of it's interesting. I'm not sure if the new generation entering the workforce understands the power of it and what exactly it is. How would you define it?
Yeah, I mean, mentorship to me is really adding value to someone's life and helping give them direction, where you can share based on your experience. And as I said earlier, giving that perspective with someone who they know they can count on, right? And who they can get an unbiased, kind of authentic and real answer from if they ask a good question, right? And they don't have to be judged on what they're doing or how they're approaching it. It's like, just you want some honest feedback and you want someone to be real with you. And then also a mentor is somebody who's like gives you ideas and thoughts and like, hey, maybe you should think about talking to, so and so, or just kind of continuing to expand your, vision of where you want to be. I think a mentor really helps you do that.
And so if you went back to your 22-year-old self, starting fresh, what advice would you give her now?
That's a good question. When I think about it, right, I would say really focus on being present. I struggle with that today. And just being present, right? There's been so much that I've experienced throughout my career, through, family and everything, but just be present.
Yes, that's one that also comes up a lot, and I think it is so very true. And a lot of times we take that for granted, just like you were talking about, like with entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
feel like they're too busy to step outside, but be present in that moment.
Yeah, be present in that moment, and then, life is going to be a lot of turns. I mean, there's some people that are in the same company for 20, 30 years, and they've, maybe had different positions throughout the way, but like my career has not been that, right? And I would have probably thought it would. I probably would have thought I would have been on that other track earlier, right? Oh, I'm just going to start here and then go up, be a partner at some point. And that's not how it turned out. And there's been a lot of twists and turns along the way, some that I've created, some that I haven't created, right? But you have to react and deal with it. And you just have to kind of, as my mom would always say, you got to roll with the punches.
Well, what a beautiful journey it's been, and what a legacy you're creating with so many lives that you've touched. So thank you for that. And thanks for all the turns.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Okay, so now is the fun section that I like to call the fire round. Super simple, first thing that comes to your mind, and just be authentic. Okay, ready?
I'll try.
Coffee, tea, or cocktails?
Tea.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Favorite comfort food you never turn down?
Mint chocolate chip ice cream.
That sounds good. What song you instantly puts you in a good mood?
I am a beach baby, so probably Zach Brown. Was it Knee Deep in the Water somewhere?
Oh yes, that's a great one.
Growing up in Florida, my roots have not gone far. Like, I have to get to the beach.
Yeah, so this might actually be the answer to the next one: beach vacation or city adventure.
100% beach. It was like in a marriage contract with my husband. It's like, I have to get my toes in the sand at least a few times a year, or else you will have a very cranky wife.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the only thing I really miss about Atlanta is that you don't have I love being in front of the water all the time. It really is so serene.
100%. It's so calming and
it is
peaceful.
Yeah, it's like eternity just looking at it. One thing you always have in your bag?
Besides my cell phone, yeah, probably hand sanitizer, to be honest. I meet a lot of people, and I'm not like a germaphobe or anything, but just, I meet a lot of people.
It's probably a smart idea. Anyway, we already talked about one of your superpowers, but if you had a superpower for a day, what would it be?
Oh, I wish I could create more time.
Oh, that would be a good one. Time stopping. Yeah.
More time.
Or what is there's that thing in Harry Potter where, well, that actually just relapses time, but there is one that extends the time. So I think that would be good. A movie or TV show you can watch over and over again. I
really don't ever turn on the television except for really excited about college football starting this weekend.
Oh, that's something you watch over and over.
I will say, going back to my childhood, I could probably watch Grease a good amount of times.
Yes, so. I think I watched that thing 14 times.
I might not. I don't know. Going back now, it might be a little corny, but I did actually make my boys watch Grease because they would hear me sing the songs or whatever. You guys just have to sit through it, and they're like, "Mom."
It's still good. It holds the truth of time. Yeah. What is your guilty pleasure, snack or treat?
McDonald's Coke. There's something about McDonald's Coke that if I'm lagging at 3:00 in the afternoon, I'm not a coffee drinker, but that McDonald's Coke hits the spot.
Tea and McDonald's Coke. Okay, got that in mind. And what emoji do you use the most?
I think probably professionally, I use 100%. If I'm agreeing with somebody, I'm do that little 100%, 100%. Personally, probably, a heart or.
Yeah. There actually is a whole thing on LinkedIn, and it was about emoji etiquette.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's it's gotten a little overloaded in many things. And of course, with AI, it always throws in all sorts of emojis, which is just not right. But yeah. But I like the 100%. That's a good one. So perfect. All those were easy. I told you, right?
Yeah, they're easy.
So this is another very important part. It's the final question. But Chevy, what is your one truth? That one spark or light that just keeps you going through life every day?
Yeah. Besides my husband and my boys, right? I try to live by the motto or the quote by Maya Angelou. It's not the number of breaths that you take, but it's the moments that take your breath away. Something to that effect, right? I might not have quoted her exactly, but and it goes back to what I would tell my younger self, right? Be present, because I've had a lot of great life experiences through, work experiences, through friends, through family, and I'm just so grateful and blessed to have, I guess the privilege to be able to experience all of those. But you really have to make sure that you're recognizing those as special moments. Right?
Yes, that is such a beautiful sentiment, and it is so important. It's everything that's part of our life. It really becomes part of who we are.
Yeah,
exactly. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, Chevy, thank you so much for being here. You are a light, and you showed that it's not about just breaking ceilings. It's about lighting the way for others. And I mean, thank you for being a champion for so many more. And if all of us, women and men, can champion each other, it's there's no limit to what we can achieve. And I think you live that model very well. So thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning into Spark Sessions. Until next time, keep the fire burning.